Hello, can everyone hear me? Sorry for the technical difficulties again. I had a whole thing set up so you could have the chat on the screen and everything, so you didn't have to just stare at my moon picture. And of course, nothing went right, so sorry again about that. I don't have any presentation or anything for you guys today. I was just going to talk about whatever you guys wanted to talk about. How's everyone doing? What is Munchausen by proxy? Is that like a hypochondriac sort of? Oh boy, listen to me. Here we go. Hi, Irene. Thank you. And thank you for being a mod. Hi, Solanina. Hi, Jacqueline. Leaving it all a chance. Thanks for coming. Yeah, those texts between Kessinger and Kobach were strange, to say the least. Do you notice, too, how throughout this whole case there's like no sense of urgency whatsoever? I think Kessinger says, oh, I have to do something, and then Kobach said, I don't know exactly what it was, and then Kobach says, oh, I'm in a meeting, let's meet up later. And then he says, oh, I'm going out of town for a week, so we'll do it when I get back. And I'm thinking when I'm reading them, aren't you guys supposed to be building a case against this guy? And just no sense of urgency whatsoever. Very strange. Listen to me. No, there's no topic. It's just free for all. I don't have a presentation or anything. So yeah, if any of you guys were on my live a few nights ago when everything got cut off, that was weird, huh? I finally figured out why they deleted it or removed it. They said it was due to inappropriate content. So I have no idea what that's about. Hi, Daryl TJ. Jacqueline, yeah, between her and Kobach. But yes, so they said that they removed it for inappropriate content, and I'm thinking, what in the world did they say that was inappropriate? So I went, I knew that I hadn't said anything or done anything um, inappropriate, but I went back and watched the video, and the only thing I had discussed was the baby chicks I just got. Maybe that was inappropriate because I was talking about chicks. Who knows? No, the baby chicks, and then I played the rooster crow because he's a tiny little thing, and then I talked about a mockingbird and not spreading misinformation, and then mid sentence, right before I was about to play the video of Chris Watts on Nate's security camera at Nate's house, I was mid sentence and it just got removed. I tried appealing it, but whenever I pressed send, it didn't give me a confirmation or anything, so I have no idea if it even sent or not. But yeah, that was pretty crazy. Hi, Stephanie. True Crime True Seeker. No, it's not 18 and over. I mark them for that, the not appropriate for kids thing, but I don't put 18 and over on it. Because everyone's still in lockdown. I ask this every time, but I'm always curious to know what other states are going through with this whole thing. Yeah, True Crime True Seeker. There's a lot of channels that won't even say the word ridiculous. Yeah, listen to me. I've been saying that for a while now, that the video footage, the Vivint video footage of Shanann coming home was not from the 13th. Because it doesn't make sense why Nate's camera and Baumhover's statement in the discovery and the Vivint doorbell footage, they don't match at all. They have, everything's different. Also, we don't have a Vivint timestamp either, which makes it suspicious. Dave G, no, I didn't see the photos of Cece. I'm seeing new videos and photos every day that I've never seen before. I don't know where they're all coming from. Rachel, yeah, I remember you. How are you? Dave G, are you talking about the video he did, 411 did about Nate's security CCTV? And listen to me, you have to learn how to make videos. Just like I'm learning all this stuff. Debbie Light, Lucky. You got rain. I wish we get rain here. I mean, so unless it's to the point where it gets dangerous, then that's not good. Well, what was weird, Dave G, is I did find it, and he says in the video that Nate has a third party security camera from Amazon or Walmart, which is so not true because we know that it's from Xfinity. But what specifically about it are you asking if I saw it about? Why so much blood on Shanann's shirt and in the grave? I don't remember seeing any blood, but it looked like just dirt to me. But I could be wrong. True crime. Where so much blood? Does it even say that in Discovery? Because to me, it looks like just dark dirt. And that's something I wanted to bring up was the Nate's security camera having the 10-second delay. If someone can tell me how they know this specifically, let me know before I go into my whole spiel about it. Hopefully the chat's not too delayed. Dave G, what exactly did you want me to see in 411's video, though? Stephanie, I asked if someone can explain to me how they know about the 10-second delay on Nate's camera. Well, I don't understand where the 30-second delay comes in, because if it's motion activated, then it would just be motion activated. So it's got to pick up right when it senses motion, because if there was a 30-second delay, then it would miss the motion if a car was driving by or something. Now, some cameras might have a delay after the fact so that the camera can reset, but as far as it having a 30-second delay prior to starting, it doesn't make sense to me. So I have a security camera that's motion activated. It's not Vivint, or it's not, I'm sorry, not Vivint, but it's not Xfinity. It's just a regular motion activated camera. I'd have to look up the brand again, but so as of now, I just have the setting that just specifically does motion. Um, but for a couple months, I did have the premium option where it records 24/7, and then, but the difference is it, from just compared to the motion activated and the 24/7, it records all day long, but then when there's a motion, it'll have a timeline on the app. When you go to the app, there's a timeline, and it'll have little motion ticks across the entire timeline, so that you can specifically go to those times if you wanted to without having to scroll through the entire footage. So it marks the motion clips for you. So you can scroll and then you can rewind, and so for up to, I think one of the packages is like 7 days, but you can go up to 30 if you pay even more. Um, so what I get from it is Nate's is the exact same way. But I don't think that there's a 10-second delay, because it just doesn't make sense if you have if it's motion activated, and then you have to wait 10 seconds for the camera to take the picture or boot up or whatever. The car or whatever's going by would be gone already. Well, let me know if you guys can hear me okay too. And I'm not positive about Vivint. I'm just going based off of I'm just talking based off of my camera that I have. So it would make sense if Nate's was only motion activated, because there's times where, my camera will pick up someone pulling into the driveway, but then it won't catch them backing away or backing out, or vice versa. So, and it's most likely because there's a 10-second delay or however many second delay on it, which would make sense for Nate's camera. But the fact that it would be a delay before the fact is that it's not registering with me, I guess. That doesn't make sense to me. listen to me, I get what you're saying, but how can there be a delay before the camera begins recording if it's motion activated? You see what I'm saying? And then in my video that I just did about Nate's security camera, Steve Wren even says that Nate's camera records 24/7. And when I hear 24/7, to me, that means 24/7. So I don't know which way to take it, because it seems explanatory to me. And there's only two options that you can um, choose from with Xfinity, and that's the live streaming, where you can just view the footage from your phone or inside your house, but it doesn't record anything or motion. And then you have the 24/7 recording option, and that's the one that Nate has. And the one that Nate has would go into a cloud, and you can view it up to 7 days worth. Does that make sense? No, listen to me. I know I'm not talking about Vivint. I'm talking about Nate's camera specifically. And I'm going based off of what the Xfinity website says. And someone mentioned earlier about how they thought that Nate's camera was old or something, or because of the video quality. But the camera that I have it's not top notch or anything. But especially at night, those motion sensor cameras will have like a grainy quality to them, as well as being pixelated. So, and I can't imagine that the Xfinity cameras are all that great or high end. I mean, if someone can verify for me this 10-second delay thing, then great. But from what I can see from Nate's camera and from Xfinity, it's exactly like mine. But I just don't have the I don't pay anymore for the premium, just the timestamp or just the motion senses. Hi, Alexandra. Welcome. They sealed the Vivint. What did they seal? Let me look. Scroll up. They sealed the Vivint videos. Which Vivint videos? So, Lenina, yeah, that's funny that you said that, because I was gonna look that up, but I just got sidetracked. Down the rabbit hole, of course. I'll look that up right now, actually, see if I can find it. Irene, which Vivint recordings are we talking about? Just from the entire, I don't know, at least a week back? Does it say what footage is they're withholding specifically? Leaving it all to chance. What do you mean? What are my thoughts? And listen to me, you're the world's leading expert in the case, right? How come you haven't called Vivint? Or if you did, what did they say? Yeah, and Mama Bear, that makes sense. But why are, I don't know if you saw my last video about Nate's camera, but why are the clips that they show us, um, specifically Nicole Atkinson leaving and Chris loading his truck, why are they all longer than 30 seconds? They're not motion clips. Those are like 2 minute, 3 minute, really long motion clips then, because, and that's how typically how long my motion on my camera is about 30 seconds. And if it runs as long as there's motion, if it can pick up a tiny little flag moving, then why didn't it pick up Shanann walking into the house or Nicole Atkinson either pulling in or out of the driveway? I mean, I know it's like a broken record. We keep asking that over and over, but I mean, something's not right. And I don't know if you guys noticed too, but I swear in that documentary that Steve Wren said that Nate had cameras on the outside of his house. I'll have to go back and check that again, but I'm pretty sure he said that the neighbor Nate had cameras on the outside of his house. PJ, I don't think that that was by chance or an accident. I think that that American Horror Story preview was purposely put there. And normally I would say, yeah, it might be a coincidence, but with all the other American Horror Story similarities in predictive programming, it's just not possible. There's no way. That commercial coming on Nate's TV was a huge, huge eye opener for me, as far as this case goes. And then after watching and finding all the other predictive programming in the show, it just sealed the deal for me that we're definitely being lied to. At the time, I wasn't sure really what was going on, and I still don't know everything that's going on, but regardless of if you think this is a psyop or if you think that the murders really happened, either way, the predictive programming shows that there was foreknowledge that this was going to happen, and that in itself is troubling. And people have said, oh, okay, well, maybe Chris, was an American Horror Story fan, and then he was just taking after the show and then decided to commit the murders that way. Yes, it's possible. However, there's so many things that he would have had to, um, how do I say this? Like all the names, and if you see my videos on it, all the names, he would have had to somehow found a way to work with all these people and be friends with all these people that have the same names that are in the American Horror Story show. So to me, that's just not possible. So somebody had foreknowledge that this event or these murders were going to happen, um, back in 2012, because that's when the first that's when the predictive programming started, was the very first episode, and it came out. I'm sorry, 2011. It came out, the first episode, the first season. I think I found the manual to the Xfinity security system. I don't know, but I can look at that later. Um, Peggy Sue, would Shanann's parents have been aware of the whole thing? Is that what you're implying or asking? And there seems to be something with 2012, the year 2012, and um, the year 1984, or it could just be me and my conspiracyness, but um, the whole military psyop convention was in 2012. The Watts moved in 2012. The Smith-Mundt Act was overturned in 2012. What else was there? I don't know, but then you have 1984, American Horror Story. Then you have 1984, um, the year Shanann was born. And I don't know if you guys saw my video about the 1984 predictions, but I'm sure you guys remember where Tammy Lee says to Chris while she's interrogating, if that's what you want to call it, um, and she says, "Do you remember that story or that story of the murders of that guy in Aurora that killed that family with a ball peen hammer?" And Chris goes, "Mm-hmm." And she says, "This, like." So that didn't have anything to do with. I was confused as to why she was asking Chris that, because I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but it's the guy committed multiple like break-ins, and I think he only ended up. I don't remember. The point is that I didn't understand why Tammy Lee had asked Chris that, because it was just it didn't make sense for the situation that they were in right there at that moment. But so when I looked it up, it happened in 1984, and one of the not the main murders with the ball peen hammer, but another a woman that this guy assaulted a couple days before or after was on Shanann's birthday on January 1st, 1984. The 1st, 10th, January 10th, 1984. So yeah, there seems to be some sort of, I don't want to say obsession, I don't know, something to do with 1984, 2012, just key years. Oh, hi Mia, welcome. Hi Angelina. Apple Go. I still want to read 1984, and I haven't yet. And I almost watched the movie, but I didn't want to ruin the book by watching the movie, so that's on my to-do list. And then to answer your question, Peggy Sue, yes, the both parents, if based on my theories, both parents are fully aware of everything. But again, that's just my opinion. Just from the way that the Rzuceks are have acted after this whole thing is just absolutely bizarre to me. And I can't figure out why they're going after AD specifically. If they were, because it doesn't seem like they're that much worried about the fact that, or that people are talking bad about Shanann or whatever, because they're not going after those channels. They're going after channels that are conspiracy channels. So is it about conspiracy theories, or are they wanting people to stop talking about the case because they're trying to mourn and they don't want people talking about their daughter and their grandchildren anymore? It's just very strange to me. Yeah, but if you guys look up the Aurora murders in 1984, it'll come up, and there's it talks about how the guy ended up breaking into this woman's house, and she had the same birthday as Shanann. Or I'm sorry, not the same birthday as Shanann. It happened on the same day that Shanann was born. And Stephanie, I know you weren't addressing that question to me, but I believe that Chris was referring to Shanann when he said I didn't want to protect her, because at that point, this is when he was rolling with Tammy Lee's whole thing about how Shanann had done something to the kids. So he says to Ronnie, he says, I didn't want to protect her, so he pretty much I said that she did it. Yeah, and Peggy Sue, exactly, because people keep asking, why don't the Rzuceks want justice? Why aren't they, I mean, because clearly we all can't be wrong about this case, having so many, discrepancies and the failure to even investigate Kessinger whatsoever. So they don't even, the Rzuceks or either one of them, they don't mention anything about Kessinger. Nobody does. The documentaries don't. Um, it's like forbidden. But because if it were my daughter and my grandkids, whatever, whoever, I would definitely be making a complaint to the Frederick Police Department and Weld County because that's crazy. I mean, when have you ever seen? I mean, you guys would know this more than me because you guys are the true crime buffs. But when have you ever seen a family go onto social media and just completely just cause a ruckus with all the channels, or not even all the channels, but just some channels in particular? Like I just recently saw, well, not recently, but a couple weeks ago on Dr. B's channel that Frank Rzucek had said, posted a comment saying, "Oh, if you really worked at Weld County, then why don't you show your credentials?" Da, 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 da. It's like, why is that? You have to think, why is that so? Why does that bother them so much, whether or not she did or didn't work there? I mean, how is it? Why is that? How is that affecting what they're going through? See what I'm saying? Hi, Bruce Light. Yeah, PJ, are you talking about his video that he came out with? Because that was strange. I remember, and I know that he was referring to AD in particular through that whole video, but that was like one of the strangest things I've ever seen. Just completely just mocking, and he says, um, "You're you're never gonna know everything that I know." Not word for word, but something along those lines. "You're never gonna know everything that I know because Frederick police are never gonna tell you people," or something along those lines. It was very, very strange, and I wish I would have downloaded it because it's very telling. And is it just me? I think I mentioned this in my last live, but I don't remember hardly anything being redacted in the discovery, and now almost everything is redacted in the discovery. So unless I'm just completely going crazy, or I'm having some sort of Mandela effect or something, because I swear that actually I know that not, all that stuff in the discovery wasn't redacted. So if you guys go back on there and look, even because I remember even the handwritten notes, they didn't have, they weren't redacted, the information on those, and now everything's redacted. So if that's the case, why all of a sudden are they redacting everything now? I mean, the information's already been out there for how long? And I'm sorry if I missed some people's questions. I'm trying to scroll up and catch everybody. Stephanie, okay, so I'm right. So I'm not going crazy then. Oh yeah, you like that? Leaving it all to chance? I have trains, helicopters, boats. Yeah, Dorothy, that's the thing is I don't get why the Rzuceks want people to stop talking about it. And like I said, there's other channels out there, and we all know this, that there's other channels out there that have, degraded Shanann and, accused her of killing the kids. And the Rzuceks aren't, as far as I know, they're not going after those channels. Hi, Vincina. How are you? Yeah, listen to me. I know I've been saying that the Vivint footage is not from the 13th. Because why wasn't that Vivint footage released with the discovery in the first place? That footage of Shanann coming home was not released until people started making a big fuss about it and questioning whether or not that footage was even existed. And then all of a sudden HLN just releases it. And like I said before too, law enforcement didn't go and see Chris in Wisconsin until people started questioning whether or not he was actually in prison or in Dodge Correctional or anywhere for that matter. And when people started questioning Kessinger's involvement, and then all of a sudden they just say, "Oh yeah, we're just going to fly, across the country to go see Chris because we were left with unanswered questions, and so we want to finish asking him questions so we can learn, learn from him what we did wrong and what we can do better next time." But then we're going to ask him questions and then we're not going to let him finish and we're going to finish his sentences for him. It makes no sense. And then, hey, Chris, do you mind if I take a picture of you? I'm not going to post it to social media. I swear. I just, it's just for our documentation, whatever stupid excuse she used. And then he's just going to say, oh, yeah, okay, sure. Just take my picture. I believe you that you're not going to post it on social media. The guy's not that dumb. And I've never heard of a vicious murderer, family killer, annihilator that is just so willing to talk about milk and macaroni and cheese and just, shoot the shit with the people that put him away and just spill the beans about everything. That just doesn't happen. Yeah, there's a first time for everything, but I mean, they walk in and say, "Hey, Chris, remember us?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, I think I do." But you think you do. You don't remember the people that put you away. Oh yeah, hey guys, how's it going? I haven't seen you in a long time since you put me away. Uh, yeah, like macaroni and cheese is good here, and the milk. We didn't have chocolate milk. We had just regular milk, and yeah, it's good. Please. Sorry, there's a little rant there. So what else bothers me? There's so much, and then of course when I get on these lives, I just freeze. I also try not to, repeat things over and over again that we've been saying for almost 2 years now, or I don't even know how long it's been. And no, Applegate, no, there hasn't been another time where families have acted like this. As far as I know, like I said, you guys would know better because you guys are the true crime buffs. But I started following this case because it was horrific, but also because I started noticing things from other situations, you could say, that piqued my interest because they were so similar. And that's pretty much the reason why I've been following it ever since, just because of all the similarities I noticed between um, this case and the Vegas shooting and other events such as. Okay, hey, me, are you doing a live? Okay, it won't be too long. Are you guys talking about Kobach and Kessinger's behavior? And when I get time, I will excuse me. I will make. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I really want people to see all of the American Horror Story connections in one video because I know I spaced them out in different videos. And the reason why I did that is because I didn't expect so many of the connections to keep continuing through each season. That's why I'm sure you guys are like, oh my god, Megan, talk about the American Horror Story stuff all the time. We've heard it before, but I'm even still shocked, and I made the videos on it. It's just overwhelming at how much, and they're not similarities where they can just be, oh, well, you could use that for any situation, or anybody could be whatever. Like these are specific connections that there's too many of them that coincide with the case that to be coincident. It's not possible. But like I said, whether or not you think the murders really happened, or you're on the spectrum of thinking it's a psyop, somebody had foreknowledge this was going to happen, and to anybody that should be very disturbing. And it pisses me off because it's almost like they're mocking us and they're like throwing it in our faces. Like, what are you going to do about it? Can't do anything about it. And here we're going to put it in our show. Apple Go, yeah, I always thought that about the attorneys. I mean, can't really judge a book by its cover, I guess they always say, but they didn't seem professional. It was, I don't know, it was very strange to me. I mean, and then the one was wearing sunglasses during a press conference. I don't know, it was just really weird. Yeah, speaking of puzzles, true crime, and back to the American Horror Story. If you guys don't want to hear about American Horror Story, then you guys don't have to listen. But I just want people to know that it's a lot to do with this case. And there's a part in the discovery. I wasn't gonna say anything about this until I was able to figure it out, but it's driving me crazy, and I haven't even tried working on it for like a couple months now because it was giving me a headache. So there's a part in the discovery where it says, let me see if I can find it real quick so I can just read it, so I'm not botching it. Or maybe I can just find my notes on it. I'm sure they're around here somewhere. One second, guys and girls, ladies. Okay, I found it. Yeah, Selena, that's what I'm saying. It's no way that American Horror Story came on just by chance. Like, yeah, there are coincidences, but just the fact that it followed the case to a T. And as I pointed out in my last live, I think it was my last live, one of them, the footage on Nate's camera is or the commercial on Nate's camera, I'm sorry, TV is sped up to fit into a certain amount of time frame compared to if you compare it to the actual trailer of the um, American Horror Story show itself. I think it's like a 4 to 6 second difference. And I tried to find one that was maybe just like how they do like a shortened version of a trailer um, promoting a show, but I couldn't find it. Oh, and speaking of that, before I get to the discovery thing, um, why didn't, as far as I know, I didn't see it on any of the thumbnails, but why is there no footage of um, Nicole Atkinson pulling into the driveway when she pulled up close to the garage so that um, her son Nicholas could look in the garage through the windows to see if the car was in there. Why is there no footage of on Nate's motion clips of Nicole Atkinson or Nicholas walking around the house, trying to open windows or whatever? Why isn't there any motion clips of Coonrod walking up to the house, Chris walking up to Nate's house, Nicholas or Nicole Atkinson walking up to Nate's house, going back and forth, back and forth? I personally didn't see any clips on there. He goes kind of quickly, but if anybody saw those, let me know. But I thought that was weird. Oh, and Dorothy, if it was a camera guy, if you're referring to the guy that was walking behind the house, they could have parked back there. Who knows? But I know that it wasn't a shovel because I looked at it with my jeweler's loop without it zoomed in and without it making it all blurry, and you can see the legs of a tripod. In crime discussion today, yeah, I've made like 6 videos on the American Horror Story connections. You should check them out. It's very interesting. Okay, so I found it in the discovery. Yeah, I mean, I felt like when I was looking at the discovery again, I felt like I was losing it because I don't know how many times I've said how crazy it is that they didn't redact any of the people's information, any of the witnesses or um, anybody involved in this case. And then I go and try to look something up and everything's redacted. Almost everything. But in the discovery, and I will tell you the page number. Discovery page 1110. It says, on September 20th, 2018, at approximately 17:30 hours, I was advised by Weld County Dispatch to contact Daniel Rzucek via phone regarding information on the Chris Watts investigation. I called Daniel at redacted, who said he resides in New York City and had a theory about this case. Daniel believed there was a connection between Chris Watts and the Zodiac killer from the early 1970s. Daniel then continued to make several incoherent statements regarding Chris's late wife possibly being a lover of a male named James Darnell Olson, who also may have links to the Zodiac killer. Additionally, Chris may not be the father of these children and that the Olson party may be their biological father. Daniel did not provide any factual information about the matter. He said that this was only a theory and I could take it for what it was worth. Nothing further at this time. Sergeant Albert, 976, Frederick Police Department. So this piqued my interest because, well, one, Daniel Franzarek, it sounded like a crazy name to me. So I looked him up and I couldn't find anything in public records, or I couldn't find anything in regards to, I mean, as far as the last name meaning, or its genealogy or anything. But what really piqued my interest is that they mention in this paragraph the Zodiac killer. Well, in American Horror Story, if you guys have seen my videos, you'll remember that in the one of the connections I missed was in the season Cult, and well, let me pause there. Ryan Murphy and Brad Falchuk, the producers of American Horror Story, they get all of their not all, but a lot of their ideas are from classic horror and thriller movies like Rosemary's Baby, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, you name it. They cover those a lot and reference them a lot in the American Horror Story anthology. So, and there's interviews with them that they talk about how they grew up watching horror films and how a lot of their work is based on it. With they'll throw a twist in there. They won't make it exactly, but they'll use a lot of the same characters, names and stuff. And so in Cult, there's a whole episode that's talks about, well, self-explanatory, Cult. So it talks about is it Jim Jones, the one that made everybody drink the Kool-Aid? Their whole that church cult thing in I think the 70s, and then they have an episode specifically about the Zodiac killer, and and then Manson. They bring up Manson in another one of those in that season. So in one of the episodes in Cult, they talk about the Zodiac killer, but specifically, it's based around Valerie Solanas. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with who she is, but she wrote the Scum Manifesto, and she was a racial feminist, and she pretty much hated men, all men. Let me read a little bit more about her here, so give you guys a little synopsis on her. Apparently, she attempted to kill Andy Warhol. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this or have heard about it. But if you read the Scum Manifesto, it's really interesting. It's not that long, but yeah, she definitely did not like men. She definitely loathed them for sure. Okay, so I was reading the chat. So she wrote this Scum Manifesto. So this whole episode of American Horror Story is about Valerie Solanas, and she had this group of women followers, cult-like, and they went around and they would murder men and women, and in this episode, the Zodiac killer comes into play because he eventually, in the episode, takes credit for the scum killings, is what she called it. So she gets pissed about that, and she tries to go into the police station to say that she was the one responsible for the murders that were happening and not the Zodiac killer. And of course, they didn't take her seriously because she said that she didn't actually do it herself, that she was actually in the psych ward, and so all of her cult people were the ones that actually did the killings. But she was pissed about it because the Zodiac killer was trying to take credit for her killings. So anyway, if you watch it, you'll see. If you watch my American Horror Story video on it, you'll see I talk about it. But one of the connections is why I brought that up too, is when she goes into the police station, she points at a piece of paper and shows who the three of the people who the Zodiac killer allegedly murdered, and one of them's name is Celeste. So there's another connection. Okay, so if we go, sorry for going back and forth, but if we go back to the discovery, it piqued my interest, one, because of the last name, and two, because of the Zodiac mentioned in here. So I'm like, that's weird. This seems like a completely random person calling in and saying that um, that the kids, that Bella and Cece are not, Chris isn't the biological father of them, and that they have links to the Zodiac killer. So I'm like, okay, that's really strange. So how I came across this, I don't know, but I noticed one thing I noticed in the I've never seen Rosemary's Baby, and knowing that the producers of American Horror Story get all their inspiration from these, classic horror films. In Rosemary's Baby, the woman, the main character, the one that's pregnant, she ends up finding this book of witches, and she ends up decoding it through an anagram. So she takes Scrabble pieces, and she, you know, mixes them all around, and she ends up finding who this person really is by, switching all the letters around in that person's name, and she ends up solving it that way. So I was like, I wonder if I take Daniel Franzrich, is the guy that called the police, and then if I take James Darnell Olson and I make an anagram out of those, I wonder if I can come up with something. So far, when I was working on it like a couple months ago, and then I quit because I just was driving me crazy. And it might be kind of hard to like describe, not showing you guys, but when I mixed up all the letters, the furthest I got was Valerie Solanas is, I should know this because I did this one. Valerie Solanas is, or something, is Zodiac killer. I wish I could find my notes. Um, yeah, I'm gonna try and find them because there's a couple things. But so, and I only was left with like maybe 10 letters, and I can't figure it out. But I know that it's an anagram because that Daniel Franzrich and that James Darnell Olson. Like, what are the odds that it says Valerie Solanas is Zodiac? Oh, and then I got to killer, but then I'm still missing like 10 letters or something. So, like I said, I wasn't gonna bring that up in a video until I figured the whole thing out, but it was driving me crazy. But the point is that I feel like if we go back to American Horror Story and the connection there in the case, you're gonna find a lot of connections in the discovery, just like this Zodiac connection, and just like they mention the Zodiac in American Horror Story episode. And that's the one I can think of off the top of my head, but I know there's more, so if I think of them, I will let you guys know. So yeah, so if anybody wants to do anagrams, if you're good at that, mix up Daniel Franzrich and James Darnell Olson, and if you guys can figure it out, that would be amazing. All right, I'm just reading the chat. Yeah, Angelina, I see that there's 10 different conversations going on. That's funny. Oh, and another one, I brought up in my video. Um, Christopher Lee is the actor, the well-known actor that was the original Dracula, and we have Christopher Lee Watts. And again, Peter Murphy and Brad Falchuk are obsessed with classic horror films, so you're going to find a lot of references in this case about him. I'm trying to find my notes on the Zodiac killer. But yeah, so I just thought that was completely random. Like, why would somebody call in? I mean, I know you have crazy people, but why would they call in and say that Chris's kids are not really his, and that Shanann's connected somehow to the Zodiac killer, and that just so happens to be an American Horror Story episode? And then we have all the other killings. We have all the other connections. And it's crazy to me that they make it so in your face. And of course, you're not going to know what's going on prior to the event happening. But after it happens and you see it, and you just are dumbfounded, because I'm still dumbfounded. And I've made 6 videos on it, and I still can't believe it. But I mean, I can, but I can't. I'm trying to remember. There was something that I just saw, and I have to go watch it again on Dr. B's last live, or not last live, but the one before that. And there was something about Kessinger's phone dumps, to where, because it's something about, I can't remember what it was, something along the lines that they had all four of the phones. Oh shoot, what was it? I don't know, but I'll write it down so I don't forget, and I'll go back and watch Dr. B's video, and it'll remind me. But it was important. What else? What else bothers me about this case? Everything. Oh, and another interesting thing is, I think it's either Luke Epple or uh, Tony Husky. And they mentioned in their interview that Survey 319 was about to be, I don't know the correct terminology for it, but they weren't going to be drilling there anymore because it was almost dried up. So I think that is a reason why they, or should I say Chris, picked Survey 319 because, and that's why they didn't have cameras there, because it was about to be discontinued there. They were just going to stop production on it because there wasn't much oil left in it, which is, if you look at it from my brain, to me that gave them a perfect reason not to have cameras at Survey 319 is because the production on it was going to be discontinued because it was an old well. But all the new wells supposedly have cameras on them, but not Survey 319. And I find that rather convenient based on the situation. So the way I see it is, if based on my theories, is that I don't even think there was really that much oil in them to begin with. Just my opinion. The video's buffering. Let me know if it's still doing it. Oh, decommissioned, Angelina. Thank you. Like, let's say, hypothetically, and I want to hear what you guys think. What if all of this was a bunch of hoopla and the girls were still alive and Shanann was still alive? I want to know your guys' opinions as to why that would be so unbelievable as compared to Chris, someone like Chris, annihilating his entire family. Like, people can't believe that that's possible. But as far as the narrative goes, it did. So why is that, or a cover up by our government or the Frederick Police or Weld County or the DA? Why is a cover up, more believable, or Chris annihilating someone like Chris annihilating his entire family more believable um, than a psyop or this being all fake? Why are those any more believable than the other? So there might be some silence here, but I really want to know your guys' opinion, because I think it's an important question to ask, especially if I'm going to continue to make videos and do lives. I'm going to have to try not to hold back so much, because it's really hard for me, I think, and that's why I struggle with these lives, is because I try not to, again, offend people, and I don't want to offend people. So it's just, I don't want to say I don't care what people think, because of course everyone cares what people think, but I want people to take me seriously about it too. I don't want to just say this is what happened, this is all fake and da-da-da. But I'm trying to also show why I think it's fake, like I did in my video about the 10 red flags, because I don't want to just sit here and say I think it's fake, whatever, or it's a psyop, without showing you guys some sort of information or proof as to why I think this. Excuse me. Angelina, anybody, anybody affected by this case. I don't want to offend people, because based on the narrative, it's very horrific and awful if it really happened. So, and I've just, from following the case, I've seen how many people and the comments that people have made, just about how they're crying, like when they see Shanann's videos and they feel like they know her and stuff. Like that's not my intentions. I don't want to. There's a lot of people that they're not as open minded as myself or others are, and maybe sometimes people just don't want to believe that it's possible. But if they can believe that someone like Chris Watts can murder his entire family, then why isn't it conceivable that this could possibly all have been just a show put on for the public? And that's why that's why I feel like it's important to ask you guys that question, instead of me just sitting here saying this is what I think and holding back. Because like I said, it's difficult for me to come on these lives and really say how I feel, or try to answer your guys' questions if I'm based half on the narrative and half on my theories. But like one of the biggest red flags and eye openers and icing on the cake for me were the trailer coming on Nate's TV, the American Horror Story. On top of that, sealed the deal for me that we were being lied to is all of the predictive programming in American Horror Story. And I know I said this, but I'm going to say it again. And the behavior from both families, the fact that the Rzuceks claim that they got death threats and their victims, or a family of a victim, and or they're all victims, but that they got death threats from people. Like, when have you ever heard of you know families of someone who was murdered receive death threats? And then on top of that, when do you see it in a show that's connected to the case, where a character mentions the same thing and says that she received death threats and she was also a victim in the show as her character? It's just not coincidental. Like, I don't know how to be more clear about it to people. Like, I don't want it to come off as like, hello, like, hello people, but I'm trying to like show how crazy it is, and that it's not coincidental. It can't be. So that sort of connection right there is not a connection where you can say, oh yeah, that could, you could use that in any circumstance or whatever. No, you can't, because victims of murder people don't receive death threats, and that it doesn't show up in a show that has an obvious connection to the case. It just doesn't happen. So the trailer, the predictive programming that I could talk about forever, and then the fact that nobody's information was redacted in this entire almost 2,000-page discovery, except for, I think, Kessinger's iPhone password and like maybe a couple other things. Everything's redacted now, apparently. But if someone can find another, I don't know about anywhere else, but a case in Colorado where all the information was redacted, the Cora request thing, where they have to release the information to the public, has been out for years. And I still haven't been able to find a case where all this information was released, body cam footage, 911 calls, audio and video of interviews and whatever, you name it, and the discovery itself, where it wasn't redacted. So you have to ask yourself, why is the Chris Watts case different from any other case? If they're supposed to release all this information to us regardless, then why didn't they release it in the same manner that they did the Chris Watts case for any other case? Normally with the Cora request, as far as I know, after the case goes to trial or whatever, or the investigation's over, you have to file the Cora request, and then they'll give it to you because it's public records. Well, this case you didn't have to, because they released almost all the information. They should have released more, but they didn't. They make it seem like they did, but they released all this information, but they didn't do it for any other case. Why? That is the main question right there. One of the main questions. What makes the Chris Watts case different from any other homicide case that's happened in Colorado since Cora request law has been out? I mean, that should almost answer everybody's questions right there. Like, I almost feel at times like when I watch lives or videos or read comments, there's so many, and I should start writing them down, but there's so many times where people are just pretty much almost answering all my they're like answering everything for me without me having to do it. Like, why did Chris make so many mistakes? How could you be so stupid? Or, why didn't he ask for a lawyer? Or, um, what's another one? Or like I said, or why was all the information released? Or, um, how could you be so stupid to, take your family to your place of work and bury them there when you have GPS? Or there's no way he had enough time to do all this and text message people and bury his family at the same time. And there was nobody killed in the house. And how could he have got Chris in the truck? Like, I've been saying this stuff for like months, and if you think about it and just think about it in a different perspective and just stand back and just see that like what I'm saying will like make sense. It'll start to make sense, but you just have to have an open mind. Like, why was the case closed so quickly Why would Chris just say, go through the trouble of murdering his entire family just to say, oh yeah, I did it? Why is everything from the DA shady? Why is there a stipulation missing from Chris's plea agreement? Why was there no caution tape? Why is there no actual murder scene? Why are we led to believe that there's 3 different murder scenes? Like, where were they murdered? They don't know. They're not telling us. Why did Chris, supposedly load the bodies of his family in his truck right in front of his neighbor's camera? Like, if you look at it, it's like smack dab, like in our faces. Like, hypothetically, if you wanted to, whoever you are, convince the masses, that somebody committed a crime, and you wanted to have an effect on the entire public or whoever saw it, surely you can say, oh yeah, this Chris Lee Watts killed his family in a horrific manner, and they could put it in the news. But I mean, yeah, okay, great. But what better way to convince people and to have an effect on people emotionally than to put it right in front of their faces and have Chris or whoever do it right on camera, but with only circumstantial evidence? Like, everything's hidden. We don't know what he's doing behind the truck. So we were told that he's loading the bodies of his family, but technically we really don't see any physical evidence that he loaded anything into his truck or anybody besides a gas can. So, and why would anybody question it to begin with? You know what I'm saying? Like, no one's gonna, like, right off the bat think he didn't do that. He didn't blow the his bodies of his family into his truck. A lot of people don't question the official narrative. I didn't. When I first saw it, I knew that it was strange, but because I was thinking, why would he do this right in front of his neighbor's camera? And he doesn't look winded. He doesn't look tired. He doesn't look like he's struggling. It just seemed really staged to me. And so that was another eye opener for me, is Nate's camera footage. It just seemed completely staged. And I know there's a lot of theories going around about that, it was a distraction so that he could take the bodies out the back. But it doesn't make sense why he would implicate himself and fake like he's loading bodies into his truck when he could just load regular things into his truck to make a distraction. Does that make sense? Like, all of the information, all of Shanann's Facebook videos and stuff, they were all purposely made available on purpose. Like, you would think that I'm not 100% sure on this, but if this murder happened or the family was annihilated, I wouldn't imagine that they would keep the persons or the victims' entire social media up for the whole world to see, unless they purposely wanted us to see it. Like, there's a reason why they didn't investigate Kessinger, because she was just a part of it. And they're bound to make mistakes, and that's what everybody's noticing, is the mistakes made in the discovery and everything that doesn't add up. And people will say, Megan, there's no way that everyone could be involved. There's no way. Like, someone would have spoke up. And I don't do very well to, like, explaining this, but David Icke, there's like an 8-minute clip that one of my subscribers, thank you, she knows who she is, pointed out to me, and he describes it so well about, orchestrated events and how everybody does not need to be in the know. So the less of the people that know, the better. People in the Frederick Police Department could just be doing their job like they do every single day. So if they say, "Hey, we need you to go and hand out these flyers for this missing woman and her children," they do what they're told because that's their job. They don't need to know that it's not real. Uh, like I said, the less amount of people that know, the better. And then people will say, "Well, there's no way that all these people would know about it and not speak up about it." But that's not true because they don't know until they're in that situation. So, for instance, maybe they were paid off, or maybe they, well, a perfect example, like this whole virus thing, some, probably a lot of nurses and doctors, they know what's going on, or whoever's involved or whatever, but they don't want to lose their jobs. They're scared that they're going to lose their jobs, so people don't speak up. Like people, when they say, Megan, surely someone would spoke up, but they don't would speak up, but they don't know until they're in that position. So you have to put yourself in the other people's position and put them in, in their shoes, and think, God, what would I do if I was in that situation? Would I really speak up, or would I be scared to lose my job? Or another thing, maybe they had to sign a waiver, or maybe their family was sudden. Like you just don't know. So for people to say that, oh, someone would speak up is kind of ridiculous because that's just not it's not true. But again, the main question you have to ask yourself is, what makes the Watts case different from any other murder case or homicide case, and why is it the only one, and why is it one of the only ones, or the only one that has all these inconsistencies and all these discrepancies and all these, we're left with all these questions and more questions than answers. Like after this ends, and just try to think, just why, like why is it, what makes the Watts case so special, I guess, or and why does nothing add up? Why do we have so much information but nothing adds up? Why do we have more information about other cases, and why do things add up with other cases, homicide cases, when we didn't even receive nearly half of the information that we've got from the Watts case? So why is that? Like they release us all this information because they make it so you feel like we have all this information. Like we're like, oh, like they release all this information. We're getting so much information, but half the time we don't even know if the information and the discovery is even factual. Because unless you're, a part of it, or you're law enforcement, or you're a lawyer, or you're a doctor, it's kind of hard. So it's almost like we're all trying to solve a case that with only half of the information. Number one, and two, we don't even know if any of the information they give us, or all of, or some of it is even true, because they only release what they want us to see. They only release what fits the official narrative. And why didn't they release the pictures of um, Chris and Kessinger at the sand dunes kissing and yada yada with the discovery when it was first released? Like, why did it take people requesting them to get those pictures? And why were the ones that were originally released all grainy and crappy? and the ones that we got later were clear and great quality. Why did it take so long to get the footage of Shanann walking up? And then we don't even know if it's from that same night, which I don't believe it is, because there's no Vivint timestamp, and none of the footage between Nate's and the Vivint footage and Baumhover's statement match up. Every single one of them is different. Hey, Grasshopper. Say hi to Chicken. So yeah, so that's my rambling. I could keep going, but I'm not going to. But at least there wasn't as many pauses and silent breaks in between, since I kind of got on a rant there. And I know a lot of people. Nobody wants to admit that they were lied to, or they've been, fooled, or you know, and some people might think that I'm a horrible person because I am saying these things, or that I don't believe the official narrative. But I'm just trying to get the truth out there and show that not everything is what you is what not everything is what it seems. And that also reminds me too is that that now that people are coming out and saying that it's a cover up, and that from the Frederick Police Department and Weld County. But what I don't get is why would they release all this information just to cover it up? Does that make sense? No, Thrive is not FDA approved. You're right, Grasshopper. Grasshopper. Grasshopper, it could be a ritual sacrifice to Lucifer, but I personally don't believe that. And I know that nobody wants to hear this, and I know I've said it before, but I personally, in my opinion, believe that Kessinger is never going to be charged. He's never going to be investigated, because it's just not going to happen. And I'm not going to, sit here and tell you that I think that she's going to be, and that I believe they're going to reopen the case just so that I can keep making videos about it, because that's not what I'm here for. Like, it's my opinion that I don't think she's going to be investigated, and she's not going to be charged. And if people don't like that and they don't want to watch my videos anymore, or they think that I'm going to have nothing else to um, put out there, then that's fine. But that's just, I'm not going to lie about that. Because sugarcoating it and just telling people what they want to hear is not going to get us any closer to the truth. And if I'm correct about everything, then this whole thing was, they started planning this like probably before the Watts even moved to Colorado, because that's when the predictive programming started, was in 2011. So these things, these events, they take years to plan. And then once it comes up to that time, they got one shot to do it, and they got one shot to do everything right. And that's why I think we see a lot of inconsistencies on the body cam footage, because they want to make it as real as possible to the public with the body cam footage, because they know that if they alter the body cam footage or the timestamps, that we're not stupid, we're going to notice it. If there's any glitches in the time. So, they had one shot to do all this. But prior to that day, prior to the big day, this was planned years in advance. And I know people think, what, they're a real family, Megan. They're real families. They're real. I understand that, and I know that they're real families, and I don't have any reason to believe that they're not real families. But that's not the hard part. The hard part isn't, all that they had to do was just act like a normal family. All Shanann had to do was put out all her Thrive videos on Facebook and put the girls in almost every video, so that it pulls us in, so it pulls us, so we're emotional, and so that we feel like we know Shanann, and we feel like we know the girls, like, and because that's how we felt. That's how I felt at the beginning. Like, it's so welcoming, and you just, like, it was pretty much their whole life. She documented her whole life. So, that part's not hard. That wasn't the hard part. All they had to do was act like a family or be a family. That's not, it's not hard to do. So I'm not saying that they're not real families or anything. And Thrive definitely has a big role in this as well. Like Grasshopper was saying, it doesn't make sense why hardly anybody's questioned Thrive. And I get she sold it, and that was her occupation, and that was her way of making money. But there's even, times in their family pictures with the girls, like, you can see the Thrive patch on their arms. Like, to me, that's just tacky in family photos. And I just didn't understand why they couldn't just put them in an inconspicuous spot for family photos, even. To me, I found that odd. And what's funny is even the Thrive goes back. It has to do with the American Horror Story, with the cult episode or the cult season, and how, MLMs are compared to being a cult and cult-like, and how they're all drinking the Kool-Aid. And in American Horror Story, there's an episode with the Jim Jones, and the character, Kai, he's a cult leader. He gets everyone to try to drink the Kool-Aid, just like Jim Jones. And that's exactly how people compare MLMs to being cult-like, and how, Nicole Atkinson and Shanann, they were all drinking the Kool-Aid. Like, these similarities are this, there's no way they're coincidences. There's just too many, and they're too spot on to even deny that. Yeah, and she did, and that's one thing that I didn't agree with Shanann, though, is that just, those kids did not want to be on that camera all the time. Like, they're young, they don't know about marketing and, selling, and saying, Bella, Cece, hi, say hi. They just want to be kids and they just want to play and have fun. They don't want to be on camera all the time. All right, well, we're at 2 hours, so I'm going to try not to make these too long. Keep it under 2 hours. So thank you, guys, everyone that showed up. And I hope you guys, when coming into my lives, you just, like I said before, all I ask is that you have an open mind and try not to think of me as a horrible person because I'm really not a horrible person. But when you think about it, it's really not all that unbelievable. And I'm not telling you to sit here and believe everything I'm saying because that's not what my channel's about. It's about doing your own research and, not believing everyone. But on another live if I do another live, I'll go over more of the red flags and the characteristics that they use in all of these events and just show you some more information to kind of back up what I've been saying. So thank you for the support, and I will talk to you guys later. Night.